everybody, and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm Tom Vasel, and we have a lot for you today. We have a couple news segments, but the one thing I want to really talk about today is the People's Choice Top 100 Games of All Time. Now, each year, I do my top 100 games of all time, and you'll see some of that has already been posted. More of it will be posted. Jason's doing his top 100. Eric's doing his top 100. But we also do the People's Choice Top 100. That's where you get a chance to talk about your favorite games of all time. So you get to go vote on that. Go to our website, look under the Top 10, Top 100 /tab, and go there and vote. Now, you don't have to vote for all the number of slots that you can vote on there. You can just vote for a couple games if you want to. You can just vote for one game if you like. But I'm interested in what games do you like? What games are your favorites right now? And so if you go in there and vote for that stuff, and we can get a good picture of what right now people's favorite games are. And I always find that interesting to see how that changes from year to year. Anyhow, there's some really exciting stuff coming up, guys. There's going to be no Q&A today or tomorrow even. It's going to be towards the end of the week, so just keep an eye out for our live Q&A. I just think at this point it will probably be Friday. Although I got some other idea in mind. We'll see. Anyhow, let's get started. Okay, in the news, we have an expansion for Orleans announced, Orleans Invasions, where each person gets their own special ability, and there are 5 different variants included in this. This looks really exciting. I'm glad to see more coming out for this really great game. Haba is going to be coming out with a line of family games. Now, you know Haba is the company that makes all the games that have yellow boxes, although they occasionally have a box that's a different color, but they're mostly known for their kids' games. They make some of the best kids' games around. Well, they have some family games. There's a picture of one of them, Karuba, but they have 3 of them, I believe, being released at Essence, so that's kind of a new direction for them. Marco Polo won the Deutscher Spiel Prize. The DSP is what it's called for short. This is kind of like the People's Choice Award or the Gamer's Choice Awards. This award is always given out at the Essen Game Fair, and people can vote on this one, so congratulations to Marco Polo. And then there's this new line of games here from a company called Chrono. I don't know if these games will be in English or not. I just love the covers of them and how they all match. So we'll be looking forward to that. Fantasy Flight on Force Friday obviously had the new X-Wing set come out. Well, now they've announced that there's also 2 more models for that, the T-70 X-Wing and the new TIE Fighter. And these will be added to the 8th wave that they've already announced. So I'm assuming the 8th wave will be coming out in a month or so, and you'll be able to get these 2 new ships for that. The biggest news of the week is that Fantasy Flight Games bought the Legend of the Five Rings CCG from AEG. Now, this is really big news for a couple reasons. One, this was like AEG's flagship game for a while. And so this shows that AEG is kind of putting that RPG, CCG stuff aside, and they're going to be completely concentrating on board games. I guess their flagship game now would either be Love Letter or Smash Up. Those are the 2 games they're having the most success with, I think, at this point. But they're producing a lot of other board games, too, and so they're moving to that. Fantasy Flight has said they're going to let AEG is going to be releasing 1 more expansion for the Legends of Five Rings, and then there will be kind of a year transition, and in 2017, there's L5R will be re-released as an LCG, a living card game where it's not random and packs come out each month. Fantasy Flight does many of these already, with some changes to the game, but still keeping in the spirit of the game. Of course, this has made everyone who loves the game either to be like, woo, this is exciting because I like Fantasy Flight, or to go into uproar because life has gone on and Fantasy Flight has flamethrowed all their original cards or whatever. So that's very interesting news. We'll see what happens with both those companies.
Yar, you filthy bill traps. Shiver me timbers and blow the man down. Yo ho ho. Okay, I'm not doing that for the entire segment. As many of you no doubt know, this Saturday is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And if there's one thing that Whitleypedia is all about, it's internet memes that peaked in 2007. Okay, I don't really care about Talk Like a Pirate Day, but I do care about pirate-themed board games. In fact, pirates is my favorite theme for a board game. But the great pirate game is the holy grail of gaming. It's as one wise man once said,
I'm still looking for my holy grail, the perfect pirate board game.
So why is the perfect pirate game so difficult? I mean, I have loads of options if I want to do a dungeon crawler, or if I want to shoot a bunch of zombies in the head, but what is it about piracy that makes it so hard to capture at our gaming table? That isn't to say there aren't good pirate games. I mean, Merchants and Marauders is pretty good, and so is Pirates' Cove, although that last one is really beginning to show its age. I can play games that shave a piece of the pirate experience off really well, like Libertalia, or I can play good games that include pirates in them, like Dominion or Smash Up. But why isn't there a dedicated Golden Age of Sail game comparable to Forbidden Stars, or Xia Legends of a Drift System, or Merchants of Venus?
Merchant of Venus, gonna be number one.
Ironically, when I played the recent Kickstarter darling Dead Men Tell No Tales, I wanted it to have a science fiction theme on it instead of pirates, so go figure. Now here's the problem as I have identified it. In order to capture the full pirate experience, you need elements of both Eurogaming and Ameritrash gaming. You need the pick up and deliver aspect of the booty that you capture and resell, but then you also need a really good combat system. And it's very hard to combine these two different genres effectively. Now I do confess I haven't played Rum and Bones yet, so if that's really good, let me know in the comment section below or hit me up on Twitter, as they say. But regardless, we don't have our Pirate Grail game. Maybe we will someday. And on that day X,
Hey folks, I'm Vasel here.
Jason Levine.
And today our question is in regards to recently Hasbro announced a contest in which you can enter the contest and submit party game ideas. And they have some submission process for 40% on theme and blah, blah, blah. And if you win this, you get $10,000 and you get a free ticket to fly to Hasbro headquarters and help design your game, which will then go up on Indiegogo, a crowdfunding platform that is essentially a competitor with Kickstarter. Thoughts on this?
Okay, couple thoughts. First thought is that's cool if you want to get your game out there. I know, what's it called? Dice Hate Me did something similar with their little card games, and then they printed all those card games after, which was kind of cool. What I don't understand with the Hasbro thing is, if you have that much confidence, or if you're going to have a contest and pick the best game, why do you need to put it on Indiegogo? Why don't you just sell it? I don't understand that. But that's just me. I mean, I would go the Dice Hate Me method and I would just put out the game. Like, what? I don't understand the Indiegogo part of it, especially when you're paying $10,000 for the design rights to the game.
Especially when your name is Hasbro.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I think, that $10,000 itself, the prize itself, is a good prize, and it's probably more than you'll get from the game anyway. Let's say you made a standard game and you get 5% of the party game's profits. Party games usually don't sell for more than $30. They have to be cheap. So it's probably sold for $10. 5% of $10, 1% of $10 is 10 cents. So that's 50 cents per game. And then you would have to sell 2 games to get $1. So you'd have to sell 20,000 games to get $10,000. That's a lot of party games that would have to be sold.
Yes.
20,000. Okay, so I think that they're not doing you wrong. Now, if you make a hit like Apples to Apples, then if they don't pay you more after the 10,000, you would get messed over in that regard.
Yes. It all depends. I don't know what the whole thing is. If they just pay you $10,000, they take the game and then they do it.
Yeah, I read through the contract and I couldn't figure it out.
Or if they are going to profit share with the designer. I mean, it's Hasbro, they're a big company, so I don't know exactly what their policies are and how they handle things like this. But it's something that we'll all have to find out together.
It is a curious thing, though, because initially I look at Hasbro and say, why are they using Indiegogo? Okay, now, I don't really care who uses... I'm not as anti-Kickstarter as Jason is. As you will see later on. Today we're talking about positive things of Kickstarter. But I don't know what the purpose of Hasbro using Indiegogo. That seems like it's more a publicity stunt. That Indiegogo is trying to get publicity and Hasbro is trying to get publicity, and maybe Hasbro's trying to reach a different audience. It just seems odd to me that they're using this to make a party game, which is a mass market type thing, instead of a gamer game.
Yeah, I'm just baffled why they would Indiegogo this game. I mean, you have a party game. Hasbro has the connections. They could put it right into Toys R Us. They could put it right into Walmart and Target if they want to, if it's a party game. So why are they Indiegogoing it? And especially because they're saying, okay, we're going to give the winner, who obviously they're going to get a lot of submissions, so they're going to get something good. They're going to give the winner $10,000. So they're already paying $10,000. Why? I don't understand. I just don't understand the Indiegogo part of it.
Maybe you guys understand this one better than we do. Why don't you answer it down in the comments below? Send us questions at dicetower@gmail.com for us to answer. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
We'll see you then.
No. Could I take that back? Yeah, sure. Okay. Check. Oh, wait. Could I take that back?
Alright folks, like I said earlier, probably not as many reviews as we did last week, but that does not matter. We have 2 really hot games that we're going to be reviewing this week. In fact, one will be going up today or tomorrow. The other will be going up later on in the week. And I'm not saying the names of these yet because something still may happen before they get posted, but I think you'll be excited. Also, I'll be taking a look at Queen's Architect, Favor of the Pharaoh from Bezier Games, Deception, you really want to check out that one, the Murder in Hong Kong, The Little Prince, Bomb Squad, the new version of Orleans, Isle of Skye, Why First, Six Mint, the Star Wars Battle Box game or whatever it's called. There's some neat games coming. Also, you'll continue to see my top 100s go up, Jason's top 100s go up, Eric's top 100 go up, reviews from from Z and Sam. And so there's still a lot of content coming out this week, and I'm really, really excited about a lot of it. So keep an eye out for that. Let's move on.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, and last time I pondered whether it's possible to play a game by its rules but still just play it wrong. This question generated a lot of feedback, which is way cool. Opinions on it were mixed, agreeing and disagreeing, with a slight majority leaning towards the argument that, even if obnoxious, if it's not breaking the rules, then meh, so be it. Some excerpts from the comments I received include William S., who said, if someone's playing within the rules, they can't be perceived as playing wrongly. If the game rules reward a strategy that one considers obnoxious, your issue is with the game, not the gamer. Stephen M. offered, I don't disagree that cornering the market in a game like that is often a jerk move, but it's a jerk move that's in the spirit of the game, like taking a tile in suburbia and turning it into a lake, just because your opponents are after that same tile. Jonesy commented, the fact that some players engage with the environment in original, atypical, or novel ways warms my gamer heart. You can call it a jerk move, but I call it originality, which may or may not still be jerky. And Tim V simply asked, how is it possible to interpret the intent of a game? The discussion was great, and based on the feedback received, the general consensus seems to be that jerk moves, if not breaking a written rule, are still actually, a valid way to play a game. Okay, cool, alright. Now, I asked you that question, so I can ask you this one. See, the game that got me thinking about all of this in the first place was actually Dead of Winter. In it, all players have a group objective, and each player also has a secret objective all their own. And one of the players may even have an objective that betrays the entire group, sometimes even stealing the win away from the rest of the group. Now, the biggest complaint about Dead of Winter that I've heard is that a player, realizing that they cannot achieve their own objective, can sabotage the group so that nobody wins. Now, technically, this isn't against the rules, and some say it actually meshes with the desperate, paranoid atmosphere of the game. But it's certainly considered to be a jerk move. I mean, I have even heard that the fact that it's even possible to do this is a flaw in the game that breaks it. So, what I want to know is, do your opinions from last time remain unchanged when it comes to Dead of Winter's possible strategy of, if I can't win, nobody can win? Or is this a completely different issue? This strategy is unpopular at best, but does unpopularity alone make it any less valid?
And over on my channel, I reviewed only 4 games last week, kind of a slow week for me. First up, there's 2 games related to Machikoro. You have Machikoro Millionaire's Row, the second expansion for the game, which is much more mean and sort of take-that-y than the other expansion. Not as good as Harbor, but still pretty good. I dig it. But then you have the Machikoro Deluxe Edition, which, while it's kind of nice, is certainly not a deluxe edition, and it's kind of aggravating that they didn't add more stuff that was needed to it. So while Machikoro is good, this deluxe expansion I have to give a somewhat bad rating to. Then we go to 2 Star Wars games from the Force Friday releases. You have Lupin Chewie, which I never played Lupin Louie, so I didn't know what to expect, but this one's pretty dumb, but it's also fun at the same time. And then we have Star Wars Risk, which is not like Risk at all. It's actually a spiritual successor to The Queen's Gambit. It doesn't hold a candle to that game, but it's still pretty fun, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. Thank you very much. See you next week.
How you doing, Dice Tower? This week I covered a lot of games, so let's jump right into it. First one is Tiny Epic Galaxies, the third in the Tiny Epic series, probably my favorite in the series, and it sort of combines the dice choosing from War of the Ring with sort of a lead and follow action from Glory to Rome or Eminent Domain. Players are colonizing different planets, getting special abilities. It plays super quick in about 30 minutes. Really enjoyed this one. Next one is Little Prince Rising to the Stars. This is definitely a family level game, but I still found it very interesting. I think if you've got kids, I'm not sure what age, but you know, sort of middle age, and they would really get a kick out of this. Very cool board, very cool production, but also very intriguing gameplay. Finally, I've reviewed Risk, the Star Wars edition, which I'm not sure why it's called Risk, because it's basically a streamlined Queen's Gambit, if you're familiar with that game. You're basically playing the last battle of Return of the Jedi, the Forest Moon and the Death Star battle, Luke versus Darth Vader, all this cool stuff, plays super quick. And one thing I really enjoy about this is it's a 30-minute Ameritrash filler. You hear that, Garcia? Ameritrash. All right. The other thing I covered was I did sort of an update to my blacklist of games, and these are the games that just don't quite make the cut for me to have any time or inclination or desire to do a full review for, so I kind of throw them all into a smorgasbord review. Did 11 games there. You can kind of see them scrolling right here. Check that out. And I also covered my top 10 anticipated games from Essen coming up. So thank you. Have a good week.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Due to Tom having me seed my own channel right before the announcement, I've got a ton to get to. Trambon, 2-player card game supposedly similar to Lost Cities, done by the same people that did Patchwork. At first I really liked it, but then I found some real serious problems the more and more I played it. Go see what I found in that. Game of Crowns is a negotiation and trading and set collection card game where the negotiation fell flat and the trading was weird and the fighting and attacking was even more weird. Go check that one out to see what I have to say about that. Evolution is a card game where you're trying to build up your species and you're comboing cards together, and it's one that I can recommend. Capo de Capi is a 2-player press your luck game made by the same guy that did Biblios Dice. It's one that's solid. I can recommend it. 15-minute 2-player game. Sapiens is a family/gamer game from Yellow Games. It's basically gamer dominoes. I like the concept, a lot of things I liked, but in the end there was too much AP and it was too unforgiving. Little Prince Rising to the Stars is from Antoine Bauza and Bruno Cathala. It is a children's game that has a lot of good decisions. Gamers will like it, kids will like it. Check that one out. Icarus is from Reiner Knizia, Victory Point Games. Take Liar's Dice on steroids with multiple suits, a good arc that changes over the game, and some special abilities. If you like Liar's Dice, check that one out. No Thanks, a reprint from Mayfair Games. There's some new variants in there, some new player counts, but they didn't redo the artwork. Check that one out. Quick Cups. This was a reprint of Speed Cups that I played on the live stream at Dice Tower Con where I destroyed you, Tom. It's at Target now, and it plays 6 players instead of just 4. Play that in real time, check it out. And the best one of the week, Ultimate Warriors. Think King of Tokyo 2.0 with cards. All the monsters are different, all of them have special abilities, and you're playing cards more than just rolling dice. That's it.
Hey, Breakfast Club. Last week I reviewed 8 games, but they all came in this one package, the Paco games. And I'm going to be telling you about them here very briefly, and I'm going to go from roughly my favorite of the pack to my least favorites. Here we go. First one, Lie. This is basically Liar's Dice, a card game. I love Liar's Dice, and this game I love as well. Check it out. Next up, Gem, a once-around bidding game, trying to get some gems, trying to have the best gems at the end of the game, get majorities, awesome stuff, great graphic design, really cute little game. Next up, Shh. This one is a cooperative word game in which you cannot talk to one another. It's a very strange word game, need co-op. I've played this a bunch, and it's got this great potato chip feel of, ooh, let's try that one more time. If you like word games, check this one out. Next up, Bus. Really unique game in this series because it's a pick up and deliver game in which you actually build sort of a little board at the beginning with these tiny little cards, and then you move your bus and pick up passengers and drop them off. Really cool. This is a solid line, as you can see so far. I'm up to 4, and I'm still really digging on these games. Next up, Hue. Tile laying game, color matching, and then scoring for whatever color you want to, because you're going to hold on to a card at the end and score based on that one. But you don't have to make up that choice at the beginning of the game. You can make that choice anytime you want to throughout the game. Great stuff also. Taj. This one is it's a game with these little rugs in which you are voting to shift them around and have specific rugs under the Taj and score for those. This one's a little tricky. I don't want to say clunky, but it's almost there. And so therefore, even though I like voting games, this one's not quite as high as the other ones because it messes with the mind a little bit. Interesting that they fit that much game into this little box, but it's just not as good as the other ones. And then here at the bottom, TKO. This is a simultaneous selection and boxing game for 2 players. Garbage. And Fly. This is a dexterity game in which you are dropping a card on top of other cards, and who cares? Garbage. And that's it. See you next time.
Breakfast goers, welcome back to another week in review. The reviews that I did this week are, first of all, bam, this little guy right here, Revolution. Actually has 2 expansions out for it. This is a area control mechanic with a blind bidding and auction that allows you to influence other people that give you control over different parts of a city. It's a victory point game, so when you control one building, it gives you a certain number of points, and when you control another building, it gives you a certain number of points, and then you calculate points. Whoever has the most points wins. I reviewed Stone Age, and Stone Age is a worker placement game. You are a chieftain trying to take care and build up your village, send people out to work for you, gathering different resources and gathering food to feed the clan. Family level worker placement game. If you have not yet tried this out, you need to go try it out. I also reviewed this guy right here. This is the expansion to Stone Age, called Stone Age the Expansion, or Style Matters, or something like that. I'm glad they changed the name. Makes it a little bit more complex, but not fundamentally so. It just adds a little bit of thinking to it for that gamer in your family. So there you have it. See you next week.
Whew, a lot of games to go over this week, so I'm going to jump right into it. I did 23 reviews last week. The worst review I did was of Phase 10. I picked up a copy of this, and I've always said it was my worst game, my least favorite game, so I wanted to tell people why, and that's mostly because it is garbage. Another garbage game was the Star Wars 6-in-1. None of the games inside that were good. My Fair Princess, this is a Japanese game in which you're raising your daughter to hopefully become the princess, was a nice idea, worker placement, interesting, but it was just very, very fiddly the entire game. Bug-a-Loop is a cool game using one of those little bugs that moves around by itself. It was a really cool idea, but just too frantic, and really the game itself was not as cool as I wanted it to be. Star Destroyer Strike was neat with a laser where you spun it, but just... there was missing something mostly for kids, but it just was a little inaccurate for my taste. Star Wars Battleship is garbage because it's Battleship but worse. Star Wars Guess Who is Guess Who but worse. Okay, not all Star Wars games are bad. Star Wars Force Grab was a fun one where you roll symbols and then try to see which symbols are in different locations. Think of Pass the Pigs, but better with Star Wars things. Take Cutie was a 2-player game where one person is trying to find sheep, the other person is the shepherd, kind of a memory match style game. Star Wars Sorry was actually better than Sorry, faster, quicker, and, well, it didn't have any kind of Star Wars theme. I thought it was enjoyable. Star Wars Monopoly very similar thing where I thought it was better than Monopoly, a fast 30-minute version of the game. I do miss the trading, but the rest of it was fine. Looping Chewie. Now, this is a game everyone likes. It's like Looping Louie, except it's 3 players, and it shows Chewbacca riding around in a Millennium Falcon. Minions. This was a game where you throw things at minions and try to knock them over. Pretty basic. TY Friends. I would not enjoy this game at all, but my girls really liked it with the memory match style turning over the tiles. Star Wars Catchphrase. Small loophole in the rules, which I didn't like, but other than that, a cool toy and game. Micro-Ups Attack that was kind of a puzzle. Think of, where you put different pieces out there. That was fun. Rise to Power. This was a card game from the Ape Games in which you're trying to build a little bit of a city and take cards and give cards to the players. Some really neat interactions in that game. And then we have, some fun games. Rum and Bones, really enjoyed that one. I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. It was a kind of a light game, but beautiful miniatures, just run at each other. A lot of fun, and I reviewed that and both the expansions. Really, really good game. That's one I'm adding to my collection. And I didn't have to replace anything because Marvel Legendary card game, I unsleeved it so it all fit in one box, so I got rid of the other box, and there was a space for an extra game. The new X-Wing miniatures, also enjoyable, a great starter set, and that I was able to stick in with my other X-Wing miniatures. And then Valley of the Kings Afterlife. This is a sequel to the original Valley of the Kings. And again, this is another one I was able to stick into the original box. So now I have both Valley of the Kings, which can be mixed or matched. See my review. Whew. I won't be doing as many reviews this coming week, but I'm doing some big games, so pay attention.
Hi, this is Berky from Board Game Theater and the Berky and Badger Board Game Babble Show. And we are so glad to be a contributor of the Dice Tower Network on Board Game Breakfast. And in order to provide more consistent content in between our Board Game Theater segments, which, by the way, we are having a blast. We have some awesome stuff planned up. We're going to have a little teaser at the end. You'll get a kick out of it. But what we're doing now is some Moments with Berky, where I will be doing interviews with designers, publishers, other notables in the industry, and talking about other game board related topics. And now we've got a little interview with Brian Pope from Arcane Wonders.
Super excited. We've got a party game too. It's another game similar to Sheriff in Nature. It's going to be fun, easy, light, casual. I'm very excited about that one. That's kind of a top secret one because we're just going to surprise the world with it when we come out with it. It's going to be great. We've got the designer of that game is one of the top 5 designers on the planet, and it's a phenomenal game. It's going to be great. So
fun.
So Academy just came out at Gen Con.
Yes, I saw
It's a light, casual, fast version of Mage Wars. It's got probably 75% of the tactics and strategy in a 20-25 minute game. So very excited about that. And all the cards 100% compatible.
Now here's that little teaser. Can you guess what's next on Board Game Theater? Let us know on Facebook and Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, let the games begin.
Earl Ragnar seeks to be king. But I am king, King Horrid the First. And nobody likes Fluky.
You know what chaps my hide? I'll tell you, it's card backs. If your game has different card sets in it, that's fantastic. And if you have a deck for this and a deck for this, and both those decks you're drawing cards in your hand, well then those cards need to have the same back so you can keep them, differentiated. But if they're 2 different card decks and you will never mix them for any reason whatsoever, then please give them different card backs so that when we're sorting cards out or whatever, it's easy to tell them apart. It's really annoying, and there are several companies who have made games that have many different decks in them, all with the same card back. It's even worse when you decide to make that card back the name of your company rather than the name of the game. Fortunately, that one doesn't happen quite so much. Make your card backs different.
Hey gamers, welcome back to the bakery. My name's Doug, the board game baker, and today we're gonna rock the Casbah. like an emo singer once said, life has a funny way of creeping up on you. And in games terms, this is events. And events can be both exciting and add variety and replayability to your game. But you do need to think through the event cards and how they interact with the game. Do they affect only one player? Do they affect multiple players? Do they change a condition in the game going forward? All of these things should be thought out. And thought out carefully, because I will say I think gone are the days where you pulled that killer card and destroyed the entire strategy of the game and really had a negative player experience. So this is a double-edged sword in terms of event cards. You need to be very careful about how they interact with the game, how much there is in terms of take that, and how much they really destroy what could be a really nice strategy that people are working up towards. Tipping the balance a little bit is okay. Tipping it too much really destroys a good game. In the factory prototype game, I wanted to keep a level playing field across the board for all players. I wanted players to feel like they were really competing against one another and not the game. But the event cards do add a little bit of variety and a little bit of replayability in terms of making sure each game is different. So those event cards happen occasionally during the game, and I was very careful to make sure that those event cards affected all players simultaneously the exact same way. So that allows everyone to build their engine, really build their strategy, and make sure that their engine can overcome the obstacles that everyone else has to overcome. And ultimately, the better player is going to bubble to the top in that type of game. All right, that's it for this episode. If you get a chance, check me out on these things. And don't forget, I am still looking for playtesters for the prototypes. So if you get a chance, ping me, and we'll see if we can set up an arrangement where you can actually test out some of the ideas we've been talking about on the channel. Catch you later.
Hey folks, this is a new segment that we're going to be starting on a monthly basis, and this is where we're going to take a look at the games that sold the best the previous month. Now, the only data I have to get with this is from Cool Stuff Inc., who's kindly shared the data with me, which is very useful still because they are the largest online board game retailer, and they sell lots of games all over the place, and so this gives us a good picture of what games were hot last month. So we're going to get right into that. First, we'll talk about the pre-orders. These are games that people are pre-ordering and excited about but have not yet shipped. And so we got 5 of those. Number 5, Fury of Dracula, the new edition, which Fantasy Flight says is on the ship now. 4, also from Fantasy Flight, Mission Red Planet. Okay, I'm excited about that. 3, the Machi Koro Deluxe Edition. 2, Code Names. That's going to probably be one of the biggest sellers of the year. And number 1, Mysterium, also probably a big seller of the year. Expansions, of course, dominate this. People like to buy expansions. So number 5 for expansions was Millionaire's Row from Machi Koro. Number 4, Strange Remnants for Eldritch Horror. Eldritch Horror seems to be going really strong, selling lots of expansions for that. Number 3, Secret Wars for Marvel Legendary. Volume 1, anyhow. And of course, I think even though the critical consensus is that the new deck builders, the Predator, Legendary Predator, and Legendary Aliens are better, the Marvel one still does incredibly well. Number 2, Artisans of Nikala. This is the expansion for 5 tribes. And then number 1, by a mile, I believe, is Twin Shadows, which is the first boxed expansion for Star Wars Imperial Assault. Then for the top 10 games that went out this year, number 10, or last month, number 10 was Sheriff of Nottingham, which of course makes me happy to see that the Dice Tower Essentials game is still doing well a year later. Number 9, this one was kind of a surprise, Churchill. This is from GMT Games, a 3-player game about World War II. Number 8, the second edition of Evolution. North Star's really been pushing that one, so I'm sure they're glad for that. Number 7, even with the high price point, is Star Wars Armada. This was, again, this was kind of one I was surprised to see on there because it is an expensive game, but I guess Star Wars beats all. Number 6, Medieval Academy, which I'm glad to see. That's a great gateway game to get people in a hobby with drafting. Number 5, Dark Moon, which is a very, like a condensed version of Battlestar Galactica. Number 4, Sushi Go, which seems to be a perennial seller. Hey, let's throw that one in. Another drafting game. Publishers take note. Drafting games seem to sell. Number 3, Elysium, a strong gamer's game from Asmodee. Number 2, the new box for the Versus system that was from Upper Deck. This one surprised me. I guess Versus still has a lot of fans around. And then number 1 from Blue Orange Games, New York 1901, which has a lot of fans. I guess it's a new gateway style game released at Gen Con, and I'm glad to see that one doing well. All right, We'll talk about this in a month and tell you the best games from September. Those are the ones from August. See you guys next time.
Well, hello, my furry little friends. I am looking at a new game which is fresh from France. It is La Boîte de Cold Soup, which is a little game for 2 to 4 players where you are a little squirrel who is looking for his lost nuts. Barry, take it away.
First, you'll have to arrange the 9 object cards into a square like so. Then randomly place the nuts at the end of each of these lines. Each player will then choose a line which they wish to search, like so. Then play begins. This player is searching by object. So you start with the first card. You say to yourself, oh, I think there's a stone under there. You turn it over. If it's not a stone, you've gone wrong, and you turn your card over. So next time you'll be guessing colours. Play moves to the next player. Oh, this player is gonna do colours. So under this stone there is a yellow. Yep, there's a yellow something. And under this mushroom is a blue something, I think. Yes, and underneath this mushroom is a blue something. Yes, super, I've made it. I collect these nuts. That's my score. And then I can move 1 space left or right. So I can move either here and search this row, or I can move here and search that row. It is also possible for 2 players to search the same row. When you've collected 5 nuts, you have won the game.
Yes, the game resembles a memory game for children, but there is a little bit more complex than that. The adults will enjoy this too. You think you know the 3rd card, and you turn it over, and you make an error, and everybody laughs at you. It is hilarious fun. It plays very quickly, in 10 minutes. You will probably play 2 or 3 times during a soiree, and it is an immense pleasure. It is simple, it is quick, and it is fun. Check this out when it comes near you.
Weeks ago, I talked about the negative things of Kickstarter, and I would like to now talk about the positives of Kickstarter, because we don't want to be all negative here, and I think that Kickstarter has really brought a lot to the hobby. So here's some of the positive things that Kickstarter allows. First of all, Kickstarter allows companies, especially larger companies, to test the waters with a new product. This has happened from several companies. A good example would be Days of Wonder, when they wanted to do the electronic version of Ticket to Ride for the Android. They wanted to test the waters for that. They had the money to do it, but they wanted to see if it was worthwhile doing. And companies can kind of gauge what, at least initial reaction. If no one's interested in something, well, then they can save themselves a lot of money by not printing it. So Kickstarter allows that to happen. Kickstarter also allows strange and unusual projects that might not be able to be gotten done any other way, but there are fans out there who'll be like, yes, I've always wanted to see this weird little type of game put together. And so it gives people this additional, this way to produce some odd project that may not be done otherwise. It also allows backers to feel like they're part of something. It gets people involved in the game itself. And now this can be negative sometimes, but the positive thing about it is, when a game is being made, and I feel like, yes, my money was used to make that game possible, and it gives people a sense of pride and a sense of community, and there's some strong communities that have come together based on a game alone. It also educates backers on the process of doing a game. Now, this could be initially seen as something negative as you look and say, wow, so this is why the shipping delays here. But backers now know more about how games are made than they did before. Before, most of the time we just said, oh, it showed up on the shelf. Okay. Now you know that many of these people who are doing the Kickstarters are telling everybody this is exactly what I did. Some of them are even telling the money amounts and things. And so if you've ever wanted to know what goes into producing a board game, Kickstarter has lifted the curtain on that really wide open, and you can know a lot more. It allows unique upgrades. There's deluxe editions of games that probably would never be made otherwise, or some really cool pieces or miniatures or whatever. These things would not be possible on a normal production schedule, but on a Kickstarter thing, they're very possible. It generates buzz. It really does. I mean, when other games come out, companies, they have to spend a lot of money on advertising and get that buzz out there. Kickstarter kind of sometimes just generates a lot of buzz all by itself. It allows a good look at the game. Many of the Kickstarters will show you the rules and the components, and there are a few game companies like Fantasy Flight and some other companies who show their games in full detail before they come out. But most companies don't do that. That is not the case on Kickstarter. For the most part, when you go to Kickstarter, you see the entire game and how it's going to work out because they have to, so that you will back it from them. There's exceptions to that, but I mean, for the most part, you want to know about the game, it's there. And then finally, the very obvious benefit to Kickstarter is that people can afford to publish a game. There are many people who could not afford to do it, and I can't tell you how many stories I know of people who went and published a game and made 5,000 copies of that, and some of those people still have thousands of copies of that game in their garage and have gone bankrupt and mortgaged their homes and things. They no longer have to do that. They can get the funding ahead of time and then produce the game. The negatives, now the positives. Which ones outweigh the others? Well, I think it's kind of a wash in a sense. I think Kickstarter is a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for evil. What are some things that I would recommend? Well, we'll talk about that in a future episode. But either way, Kickstarter certainly has brought much good to the hobby, and we're thankful for that.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. What happens when you combine a puzzle game with international politics in the 80s? You get Cafe International. This colorful but politically dated game has an app, so let's take a quick look at the digital version of this Spiel des Jahres winning game. In Cafe International, you get points by seating people from different nations at their appropriate tables. The rules are fairly simple. Guests must sit next to their nation's flag, and you must maintain a gender balance. There are jokers that can sit at any country's table, and you can play people you can't seat at a table in the bar instead, but at a cost. The app version of Cafe International is a pretty faithful port of the board game. Considering the app is over 3 years old, it's pleasantly feature-rich. The tutorial does a very good job of teaching you the game and UI. There are 3 levels of AI and pass-and-play multiplayer options. There's even a solitaire and solo timed game feature as well. And in something I don't see often, there's an interesting function in which you can get a hint but score reduced points, or you can undo a move but at the cost of a victory point. These are the kind of game adjustments you can only get in an app implementation, and that's kind of cool. Honestly, I have very few complaints about the gameplay or technical app implementation of this game. But I feel compelled to say that I find some of the art, which is from the original game, and some of the sound effects, which were created just for this app, awkward at best, hurtful at worst, and I'd love to see an overhaul of the aesthetics. Overall, the gameplay of this 1989 Spiel des Jahres winner really holds up well, but the cultural representations and stereotypes of the characters could really use an update. But if those kinds of things don't bother you, the app version of Cafe International is really well done, and you should give it a try.
Greetings everyone, this is Dean with Board Game Social, and I'm here today to talk to you about something that involves a lot of math, a little bit of fighting, maybe a little bit of the take that mechanic, and I'm not talking about a game, but I'm talking about insurance. Yeah, we all have loved ones, we all have things that we want to insure and protect, and that's what I want to share with you today. So we talk about our loved ones, get out of the picture. We talk about our loved ones, we're talking about our game collection, all right? And your insurance may vary on what exactly it covers when it talks about your collectibles and your game collection. And that's what I want to share with you today. Okay, first thing, a disclaimer. This is not intended to be a professional assessment of your policy or the coverages that your policy provides. You need to check with your insurance provider or your agent to have them do an assessment for you. Secondly, some terminology. Actual cash value policy versus a replacement cost value policy. It's pretty straightforward. Replacement cost value policy is going to pay you what it takes for you to actually replace that item today. Actual cash value policy is going to pay you a depreciated amount. And it's going to depreciate it based on the average life expectancy of that item. And I'm telling you, for games, they're considered kids items, you're not going to get a lot of money. They're going to depreciate them heavily because they're not expected to last very long, a few years at the most. So it's crucial that you know what type of policy you have. It can mean the difference between getting that full $60 or getting $10 based on its age and condition.
All right, join me next time when we take a look at the idea of whether your games and cards are really collectibles by insurance standards, and why would that even matter? Until the next time, take care of yourselves.
And that is it for this week, folks. Thank you once again for watching Board Game Breakfast and the Dice Tower. I hope you enjoyed the new segments and new things. We're always trying to shake things up and add different things to the channel. And so I'm glad that you guys keep an eye out for it. Watch out for Board Game Blender, which is going to be coming out this Thursday. And also, I didn't mention this earlier, but check out Dicetower.com and look at Dice Tower Network. We've had some new podcasts join the network. So if you've been looking for more stuff to listen to about board games, there is a lot of that there. So keep an eye on that. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.